Hi, it's Lucy here, and today I'm creating Christmas cards with paper strips. I've made 4 cards using the same simple idea but different designs. And I'm starting off by using a strip die, but if you don't have one, you don't need to worry at all. You can absolutely cut your strips with a trimmer or scissors. I'll also pop a link in the description to a couple of strip dies in case you'd like to try one, but you definitely don't need it. I just like the die cut version because it gives the strips that slightly rounded edge, which makes them look a bit more finished, and it's quicker for me as I'm a bit slow with my trimmer. I also sometimes use the skinny strips from this part of the die cut too, but usually when it's a metallic or a white cardstock. And with the strip sizes, there's no correct width for them. Mine are about 8 mm wide, just to give you a reference. And I do like the uniform look that comes with keeping them all the same size, but you can absolutely mix up your widths if you want something a bit more funky and playful. Strips can be used in so many ways, so just use whatever's in your stash and just have fun with them. And for all of today's cards, I'm only using one 6x6 Christmas paper pad. You don't need the whole pad. I'm just using 7 patterns I thought went well together. And I'm also using the members Christmas sentiment sheet on all 4 cards, which makes the finishing touch super quick. Okay, so I've already organised my strips into an order where I don't have 2 similar colours or designs sitting next to each other, and that just gives the nicest visual look. I might not stick to this exact order once I start gluing, but having them laid out like this just helps me choose as I go. And I'm working on a piece of white cardstock that's larger than my card front, so I don't have to be perfect about it where every strip goes. I'll trim everything down at the end. And it does look a bit messy while I'm adding the strips, but that actually makes it even more fun because once we die cut the panel at the end, it all suddenly looks neat and intentional. And after I've decided how many strips I want, I'm doubling each one. And this part is totally optional, but it's really easy if you've die cut the strips because they'll line up perfectly. And I'll be doing a very similar design later with even more layers, so you can see the difference. And to double these ones up, I'm just gluing the pairs together. I've added a thick light blue cardstock behind the lighter papers and a navy cardstock behind the darker ones, and that just gives a really lovely effect on the side view. And now I'm gluing everything down onto the white panel and leaving a little gap between each strip, and the white peeking through gives it a nice fresh look. I'm not being exact with the spacing at all. You'll see once the card is finished whether it's even noticeable. For all of today's cards, I'm only using one 6x6 Christmas paper pad. You don't need the whole pad. I'm just using 7 patterns I thought went well together. And I've popped the die on top of the panel so I can see exactly how many strips I need to cover the panel. I'm cutting this a size smaller than my card front just so I get that lovely white border around the edge. And now that the panel is fully covered, let's run it through the die cutting machine. And because this has to cut through 3 layers, I could have added a shim or run it back and forth through the die cutting machine one more time, but it's just as easy to flip it over and give the areas that need a little help a quick snip. You can see exactly where the cuts are, and it doesn't take much effort at all. And now the panel is ready. It will work beautifully either as a landscape or a portrait card. I'm going to make a portrait card, and you can add an image or sentiment to these style of cards. You could even add a cluster of embellishments to the card if you wanted. And I'll be making the sentiment the main feature of this card. I'm going to be using the members Christmas sentiment sheet on all 4 cards, which makes the finishing touch super quick. If you're not familiar with my channel membership, it's just $4 US or $6 Australian a month, and you get some fun perks, including a brand new printable sheet, sentiment sheet every month that you can use as many times as you like. And this month's sheet is full of Christmas greetings. And in a recent video, I shared how to foil the sentiments using a cheap laminator as well, so they don't just need to be black print. I'm choosing the large sentiment at the top of the sheet, and I'm die cutting it with this rounded rectangle die. And this actually comes with a scalloped layer as well, so I'll use that too. And the sentiment will stand out best if I cut the scalloped piece from navy cardstock. I've also die cut an extra rectangle layer in navy too. And we're nearly finished with this card now. I'm just going to add a little flower PET sticker and a white rhinestone to give it that final touch. I really do love strip cards. What do you think? Do you make them too? They're such a great way to use up scraps, but my one tip is to make sure your papers really complement each other. Otherwise they can look a bit too homemade, if you know what I mean. I went through a phase where I was completely obsessed with strip dies, so I have quite a few different sizes, but I'm glad I bought them because I still use them years later, and some buys are just definitely worth the money, aren't they? For this next card, I'm also using the skinny strips from the die, but only in plain blue cardstocks. Patterns tend to get lost on strips this narrow, and it can make the whole panel look a bit busy, so keeping them solid works much better. And the easiest way to add skinny strips like this is to cover your cardstock with a wide piece of double-sided tape first. That way the strips stick down perfectly. I couldn't do this for the last card because I left gaps between the strips, so glue worked better. But for a panel that's completely covered, this method is so much quicker and cleaner. Sometimes I change my mind mid-card, and this is one of those times. I felt like the sky in my image was a little too bright for the background I'd already created. So I'm going to look through the rest of the large washi tape I have here. They all have different scenes, and there's 2 meters on a roll, so I know I'll find one that fits better. And the paper pack and this washi tape are both from Journal Say, and they're having a big Black Friday sale at the moment for a couple of weeks, up to 78% off, plus a free gift and a few other little bonuses. And the paper pack is around $3.50 US on sale, and the large washi tapes are about $2.27. There were 6 designs available in that washi tape, but 2 have sold out already. And I'll pop all the product details and links in the description box if you'd like to have a look before they disappear. I also have an 8% discount code that still works even when they've got sales on. Just use the code LucyPatrick, or one word, and I'll write that down in the description box as well so you don't have to remember it. And they also have free worldwide shipping on orders over $29 US, which is always a nice bonus. And I've added some foam tape behind the image panel, and I'll pop a sentiment on it at the end of the video. I'm not sure why I didn't finish the card here. I must have been distracted by something. But let's get on to the next card. I've added the strips the same way I did on the last card, but this time I've included some gold cardstock, which gives the whole panel a warmer feel. And whenever I use metallic card, I'm always careful not to overdo it. Little accents work best. So I've only added a few of the thinner gold strips. And I've got this gorgeous winter washi image that has lots of golds, oranges and yellows running through it. So it's perfect for this background. And remember, we don't always need to use the images at their full size. I'm going to die cut this one with a thin rectangle die and choose the composition that looks best. I definitely don't want to cut off the tops of the towers or churches. We could leave the card like this and it already looks really pretty, but we can take it up one more notch by adding a navy background and a gold scalloped border behind the strips panel. I feel like that combination gives the whole card a much warmer feel. I'll add the sentiment to this one later at the same time as the other card. Another way to give your strips a little extra zhuzh is to emboss the solid coloured ones, and Gentlesay have so many embossing folders to choose from, and this one I'm using is a 3D design. Ideally, you're meant to lightly spritz your cardstock with water so it doesn't crack, but I didn't do that today. I've only got a couple of little cracks, so I'll just use the strips that turned out clean. And I've die cut a bunch of white strips as well, and I'm using 2 layers of white behind each patterned or embossed strip. And once they're layered up, they look more like little tiles than paper strips, and I absolutely love the effect. You could even go another step further and put glossy accents on each strip as well, and that would really give it a beautiful tiled effect. And just a little tip, if you're particular about having even gaps, you can use a thick scrap of cardstock as a temporary spacer. Pop it next to the strip you just glued down, then place your next strip right up against that spacer. It gives you a perfect uniform gap every time. The white cardstock I'm using for the layers is a nice thick 300 GSM. If using a lighter paperweight, you may need to add more layers. And I wouldn't put this whole panel through my die cutting machine. It gets way too thick. I die cut my panel first, so make sure you've already cut your base panel to the exact size you need for your card. Mine will cover the full card front. Then you only need to trim off the overhanging strip ends, which are pretty chunky, so a good pair of scissors definitely helps. Leaving a gap between the strips really shows off their thickness, as you can see here. And soon I'll add one more strip to the top right hand side, as there's too much white showing there for me. This one is going to be a landscape card, and I'm using one of the member Christmas sentiments again. This time I foiled it in silver. I've got 2 skinny silver strips here, which will look lovely with the sentiment sitting over the top. And to make sure they're spaced properly, I'll use the spacer to make sure they're even across the card. And then I can pop an acrylic block on them to give the glue time to affix to the card. Then I'll add the sentiment, which I also gave a silver scalloped border to, which always makes the sentiment look so polished. And then that's this card finished. You could also add snowflakes, pearls, or even a few little flowers near the top right hand corner if you wanted to embellish further. Now let's go back to adding the sentiments to the 2 cards that we finished earlier. I used blue foil on this month's sentiment sheet and it looks amazing. If you're interested in how to foil your own sentiments, I have a separate video on doing it yourself sentiment foiling, and it's really so easy, and I just used my $20 laminator from Big W. At the end of this video, I'll pop the thumbnail up on screen that you can click so you can watch that if you'd like to. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Did it give you any new ideas for using strips? Would you like me to keep making more strip card videos with different styles and techniques? I'd really love to know what you think. I do enjoy making them so much. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps. YouTube doesn't really show videos very far unless subscribers watch them. So for the longevity of my channel, thank you so much for any support. Even watching, liking or sharing my videos with crafty friends makes a huge difference. And if you'd like to become a channel member, it's just $4 US or $6 Australian a month, and you get fun perks like early access to videos, members only polls, priority replies, and of course the monthly printable sentiment sheets that you can use over and over again. And all of the product links in the description box are affiliate links. They don't cost you anything extra. Some even give you a discount, but I may receive a small commission if you choose to shop through them. And I only ever create with products I genuinely love and with companies that have great customer service. And if anything ever goes wrong with an order, you can always message me and I'll help however I can. I also want to send a hug to Corinne and best wishes for a speedy recovery. That's it from me for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Happy crafting and bye for now.